Ladies and germs, welcome back to Housewives Book Club. I'm with my dear friend and preeminent Bravo scholar, Molly Mulshine. My name is Jen Keefe. Thank you for joining us to dive into part two of Amanda Francis's Rich as Fuck.
I think we need to talk about Amanda's background because we didn't even get into that. So she gives some details, about as scant on details as Dorit, really, but this is a self-help book, so you can't really get on her case about that. There's not a ton of biographical details, but she is from Sand Springs, Oklahoma, and she has the same accent as Whitney from Salt Lake City.
Mm-hmm.
Aren't those thousands of miles apart?
Yes, yes. But we don't know a ton. Well, let me reverse. I was going to say we don't know a ton about the religion that Amanda grew up in, and could it have been Mormonism? But she says in the book, she implies that it was born again because she references the Bible Belt. But is there any chance that there was some Mormon influence, like Whitney
I don't
Rose?
Yeah, I don't think so. So she went to Oral Roberts University, which she never really, I don't think, name checks in the book, but it's a very Christian university and it's all about prosperity gospel, which is a mind-blowing concept to me as a Catholic because we are taught to be ashamed of money at all times. It's like the meek shall inherit the earth. It's harder for a rich man to get into heaven than it is for a camel to pass through the eye of a needle. Like we are taught you're not supposed to be rich. God does not want you hoarding wealth, but prosperity gospel, it's a trope that's found in evangelical Christianity, which is like the more God loves you, the more money you have, which again, convenient theories for people who sell money courses. But yeah, she went to Oral Roberts. She says she has training in counseling and ministry, which again is fascinating. The melange of American influences in Amanda Francis. You could make an A24 film with this type of person as the star.
I would
You
watch
know?
that. I would watch that. You just mentioned her therapy background. I thought she said something really self-aware about her pivot from psychotherapy to life coaching. So she talked about how she was pursuing a master's in some kind of science, a master's of science in counseling.
Yes, that's which I did not ever hear of. I didn't know you could get a bachelor's degree or a master's degree in counseling. I thought it had to be psychology, but okay.
Right.
With a life coach, they're making prescriptive suggestions and telling you what to do about your issues. A therapist is listening to your issues and kind of guiding you to fix it on your own. It's really two sides of the same coin, but one of them is much more respected than the other. I would say if you're a life coach and you want to be as respected as a therapist, don't sell online courses. Just have, a private practice. But yeah, it was interesting that she pivoted away from counseling and ministry and into life coaching because it really is a hybrid of counseling and ministry because you are making prescriptive statements to people about what they should do and you are tapping into their deepest feelings and insecurities and things like that.
She said something very self-aware about the pivot from counseling to life coaching. She said, quote, "I knew I was not qualified to work with major mental health issues at that time, but I was confident that I could support young women a few years younger than me in navigating relationships, forming independence, and choosing their college majors. So I started a life coaching business." I thought that was honest.
I think it's totally true. Some people want to give advice and they have a lot of people who come to them for advice. I think it makes sense. And then you have some people who want to give advice and they're overstepping. It's really a delicate dance. But I do think Amanda kind of does a good job of not seeming like Caroline Manzo, you know? Kind of that kind of condescending sometimes. And I love Caroline Manzo. She's great TV. I loved watching her on the show. But yeah, if you know that people are coming to you for advice all the time, I guess the question is why not monetize it? Because again, how different is that from becoming a therapist? And deciding to be a therapist and deciding to make money off of listening to people's problems, you know?
Hmm. To be a true therapist, though, I want to make sure that we are uplifting the validity of these real clinicians that are therapists that have a social work degree and have been in private practice and, like, they've had the training with medical modalities because I do think there's absolutely a difference between life coaching the girlies and being a licensed therapist. I just wanna make that clear. In the Housewives universe, there's always a life coach kicking around, and you wish you could reach through the screen, like Dorinda's one of them, where you wanna shake her and say, "Girlie, you should be seeing a therapist." And you know these guys are charging astronomical fees to
Yeah, but
life
I
coach.
can't afford therapy either. They also charge astronomical fees. That's the thing. That's how life coaches get in there because therapy is hard to access for a lot of people. And it's hard to do the whole labyrinthine insurance thing and try to figure it out. And that's why I think, life coaches kind of end up picking up some of the slack. And I'm sure there are good ones out there, but it definitely is scammier. You definitely need less training.
Mhm. Yeah. Malls and rich as fuck. One of the undeniable pull quotes for me was when Amanda talked about manifesting money through movement and said that one way to do this is to quote, get naked with your partner. Once you get into a bit of a flow with your chosen activity, tune in to the vibration of money. Maybe sweat is pumping and you're in the zone. Parenthetical, you're at a spin class, Pilates. Perhaps you are mid orgasm. Regardless, your job is when you hit that flow state to feel the money coming in. So Amanda wants you to think about her while you're doing the deed.
I mean, I guess if she's all about positive feelings around money, that's a great way to do it. Should I also think about money when I'm eating cheesecake? Will that help also? I guess maybe that's how you do it. I'll try it.
Me and Miles will try anything.
I think this is also one of those things where she's aligning herself with the most positive feeling in the world. And that's a business tactic. Don't you think?
Yeah, you're
Because
right.
it's like if you think about her and her teachings during that moment, during the moment, you're gonna be like, "Wow, that made me feel really good." Because of course it did.
Yeah, that Amanda Francis. I like her. I don't know why.
Good vibes.
Mm-hmm. Good vibes only.
Oh, I really liked this quote. "If you already had the money, what would you be saying to yourself?"
Yes, that is I found myself pausing and doing that one.
Yeah, it was a good one. Some of them are good. Let me ask you what you think this quote means from Amanda Francis's book, Rich as Fuck. "Money is a living prayer."
I do not know other than she thinks it's something you need to communicate with spiritually.
Is that what you think? I
Yeah.
thought it was like you're putting it out in the world for it to achieve something. But no, that's not what a prayer is either.
Money is a living prayer. Yeah, I don't know what it means. If she said 50% of that statement in either direction, such as money is a prayer or money is alive, I feel like I could explain it, but calling money a living prayer, no, I don't know what she means.
Maybe it was a typo. Money is living on a prayer, and she's just a big Bon Jovi fan.
Maybe, very possible.
I really liked chapter 4 because it was about shopping with intention, which again is a convenient theory for me that when I'm shopping and I'm doing it with intention, it's actually good. As long as I'm buying something and I'm going, wow, I like this. That means that I'm shopping with intention.
Wait, in this section, she had a quote that was along the lines of in reference to discounts and coupons that you should think about them instead of being depressed that you're buying something on sale, for example. Wow, these special prices are supporting me right now.
Wow, these special prices are supporting me right now. Yeah, I'm going to say it in that voice when the next time a special price is supporting me.
When I'm at CVS and somehow, even though I get 5,000 texts from them a day about sales, I go to ring it up and I swipe my extra care card and it says I don't have any available coupons.
Yeah, who feels bad about a coupon?
I understood it in the sense. of she was talking about buying, the cheaper version of something, and I think she was if someone is depressed about buying, I don't know, last season's thing or from a bargain section, instead think, "Thank you for these special prices that are supporting me." But I think you and me as middle class consumers, we don't feel depressed. We're like, "Heck yes, I got this 500 bucks off," or whatever.
Yeah,
It's the thrill. It's the greatest thrill.
it's the best thing ever.
I've been
It really
deep
is.
I've been deep into Depop lately, tailoring what I have and buying things off Depop, so I'm definitely not listening to, Amanda's advice.
No, Jen, I think that is shopping with intention, actually. Because I actually really liked how she made a point about how she no longer buys fast fashion, and that's why it feels good for her to buy expensive stuff. I really agree with that and love that. And I love what you're doing. I think it's so important. Fast fashion is sickening. Like the toll that it takes on people, workers, the environment, it's so horrible. And I actually really did like that part of it. And I had never really connected buying nicer clothes with shopping with intention. So maybe I liked that part because it actually is something to think about where you're like, you know what? Am I going to buy something garbage from Amazon or am I going to spend a little more money and get something tailored that actually looks good and I can wear for years?
Right. While we're talking about Amanda's fashions, it reminded me of a scene from the recent season where they are getting on the PJ to Sedona, and Amanda steps on wearing I believe it's Louis vest and also a Louis hat. And it was just, really in your face logos, right? And I am someone, this is maybe a whole nother podcast. I personally don't care about luxury designers and logos. Like if someone walks in wearing that, I think it's kind of tacky rather than if someone walked in no logos whatsoever, but they're wearing something timeless and expertly tailored. I am way more gagged by that than Amanda Francis's outfit on the PJ.
Yeah,
However,
100%.
However, Rachel Zoe taught me a lesson in that situation, perhaps about being judgmental, because it cuts to a confessional with Rachel Zoe, and she's talking about Amanda's outfit, and she says, "Is it Sedona? No. Is that her, is that her vibe? And she loves it? Yes." That was so funny and so non-judgmental. Rachel Zoe is such a star.
Oh, I love Rachel also, but that was definitely shady. That was 100% shady.
But she didn't. Yes, maybe it was a little shady, but I also thought it was kind. It's not Sedona, but she's saying she doesn't care and she loves it.
If Rachel Zoe said that to me, I would bury myself in my backyard and never come out again. If she said, "Is that cool?" No, but she loves it and it's her vibe. It's devastating. It's a devastating thing to hear from Rachel Zoe about you. It really is. She could have gone a lot harder though. She really could have. Because listen, this is what's so funny about the whole concept of manifestation. Why can't you manifest yourself to look like you own those clothes? Do you know what I mean? Instead of that you're renting them or something. And that's really mean, and I'm sorry, but she just didn't. And all the women on the show pointed it out. They were like, "You are walking around like you're in the costume of a rich lady and you're pointing it out to everybody like, look what I have." It didn't feel natural or organic at all. It really felt like she was putting those clothes on to dress up as a sophisticated, wealthy woman. And again, this is not a podcast for her ears. It is a podcast for all of us to analyze the character on television. We're talking about her sim. We're not talking about her. This is just a little representative that has been edited by executives to look a certain way, but that's the way it looked. Do you know what I mean? And if my business was manifestation, I think I would be like, I got to manifest myself into feeling myself in these clothes and not feeling like I got a Louis Vuitton shirt from QVC, you know?
The clothes were wearing her. The
That's
clothes
it.
were wearing
Thank
her.
you.
Yeah. So what we're saying is Amanda, the personality on the show, listened to your advice and rich as fuck that you should shop with intention. And that Louis number on the PJ, I do not think was shopped with intention.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that are just tacky on the show about her. The custom doormat, the welcome mat that says Money Queen.
I know. Wait, I want to take a pause to go on a little bit of a tangent that I think the millions of listeners will enjoy. I recently posted on TikTok about a homemade Roni crawl that me and Molly went on in 2021, where we visited hot spots from Real Housewives of New York on the Upper East Side. And Molly, I'm curious if you remember this. When we were at the Regency bar, a elderly woman was exiting the bar and she was dressed immaculately. She was the richest looking person I had ever seen. And there was not a single logo. You could tell whatever she was wearing was made for her. It was more than a suit. I wish I took her picture, but I had just never seen such a chic looking lady. And I went up to her and this woman was mature. I mean, upper 80s at least. And I said, "Excuse me, I just have to say that you look amazing." And she grabbed my arm, started chatting with me. All of a sudden, I'm getting the life story. And sure enough, she lived at the Regency. She lived at the Regency and she was with her much, much, much younger husband. And yeah, I waited for a cab outside with her and she was complaining about her younger husband. She was lit. I mean, talk about goals beyond.
Wow, she must have done the $50,000 course.
She did. Upper East Side lady from the Regency in 2021. Sound off in the comments if you're hearing this, if you subscribe to Amanda Francis's $50,000 6-month course.
Yeah, we need to know. We need to know what the learnings were. She uses all these words like she doesn't say learnings, but releasing money. You don't say spending, you say releasing.
That's funny.
Yeah, and feeling in things. She says, feel in that, like feel in the amount of money that you want. Chapter 5, I took no notes, so I guess nothing happened. I liked what she said about this goes back to the introduction with that honestly show stopping opening line. I'm going to read it again because it really is such a good opening line for any book, let alone a self help book. There was a time in my life when I could have told you how to sneak into every single pool at each luxury hotel in Dallas, Texas. Again, literature. I'm not even kidding. So I liked this because then she goes into how she always was placing herself in opulent environments despite not being able to afford being there. And I was like, same girl. And later on, she goes into how she took out all this student loan debt and she doesn't regret that because she found that she was around a lot of rich people during that time and she kind of absorbed what they were doing and saying. And I agree with that also. I also think that is a good way to do it. And again, this is the Great Gatsby. She is Jay Gatsby. Amanda Francis is Jay Gatsby.
I can't disagree.
She like people think she's a scammer. Nobody knows what she's really selling. She's probably thrown some pretty cool parties. She got a DUI once. The parallels. Gatsby, the rumor was that he was a bootlegger. She's sort of a social media bootlegger, you know? She's sort of conjuring these financial vibes where there's not even the word asset or liability. She really is like, this is the Great Gatsby. Rich as Fuck by Amanda Francis is the Great Gatsby for millennials.
I think the light being green was foreshadowing to Amanda Francis's money energy manifestations.
Yes, 100%. Jay Gatsby manifested money. He manifested that lifestyle. He was reaching out and he grabbed it, just like Amanda Francis on that rooftop pool in Dallas, Texas. This is what she's talking about, being in opulent environments so that you can learn what rich people are doing. That was Jay Gatsby. I mean, he was doing it just to get near Daisy, but it worked.
Mhm. Mhm.
Amanda Francis, in her book Rich as Fuck, reveals that she is the first real housewife who enjoys paying taxes.
Yes, 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 yes. She essentially said something that a high school English teacher mentor said about taxes that stuck with me for decades now, and that is taxes are the price we pay for civilization.
Bars. Bar
Truly, truly, I was so surprised, but Amanda says taxes are real, and yes, I pay them because of where I live in the tax bracket I am in. I pay a lot of them, but I don't feel powerless in this exchange. I would 100% rather make money and pay more taxes than not make any money and pay no taxes. I choose to be grateful to the IRS when that bank transfer goes out. I am thankful for the roads I drive on. I am thankful for the street cleaner, the trash collector, public education, social security, community centers, public health initiatives, and the postman. Taxes pay for those people and services. And while I can find faults in these systems and easily make arguments for how things could be handled differently, blah, 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 I am still thankful for them. I'm thankful for the opportunity to contribute as I pay my taxes.
If Amanda Francis goes to jail for anything, it will not be tax evasion, and you heard it here first.
This gave her an alibi.
Yeah, I love that though. I really love that reframe. I think it was something that I needed to hear because I always owe on taxes and it's painful. But no, you have to be like, I'm owing because I make money. That's such a good way to look at it. I actually do really like that a lot.
Mhm, mhm, and I did not expect it coming from her because she to me is very Kyle Richard Mauricio Republican coded, in that Orange County way. So to hear her uplift paying taxes, I, was proven wrong.
Yeah, she talked about BLM, she talked about privilege, she actually did mention those things. She's a progressive queen, that's probably an overstatement, but she gestures towards it, which I appreciate. Rich people complain about taxes so much. It reminds me of when divorced guys complain that their ex-wife took all their money in the form of like alimony and child support because they're always still rich. And you're like, wait, so what happened to you? What's bad? You have kids. You have to pay for them, bro. So it was a good reframe. Too bad no men probably take her courses or read this book because it would be, oh my God, can you imagine if some of the men running things right now reframed taxes to be a privilege?
Speaking of men and women, she has a quote that is, well-resourced women can do some good shit in this world. And if I've never read a truer statement in my life, whew,
It's true. It really is true. Also, speaking of men and women, she really, and I picked up on this in the season as well on the show Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, that she really, really has sort of some venom in her about women who marry well. She not only thinks it's a bad financial decision, which I agree. I've seen enough seasons of Real Housewives across the country to know that putting all your eggs in the rich husband basket is not a good idea. But she is like a little judgmental about it. She talks in one chapter about how resenting rich people is hurting you. And I needed that. I loved that chapter because I got a lot of that dog in me, the hating rich people dog. Like I will get so resentful and pissy. But it was interesting because the example that she comes up with is she was on a flight and she saw a woman putting a really expensive bag into the overhead compartment, and the woman had a big ring on. And instead of immediately going to, she must work in the oil industry or she must have rich parents or the typical kind of evil rich person narratives, she goes straight to, oh, that woman must have a rich husband. There's no way she paid for that herself. And I was like, Amanda, you just told us a lot about your inner workings. Like, why are you so pissed that someone might have a rich husband? That was really interesting to me and good for her for sharing it because obviously she was telling a story about a time when her first thought was not a nice thought. And that happens to all of us. But it's just a pattern I've noticed with her that she really, really doesn't like women who marry well.
yes, she made many jabs this season about Dorit and maybe even some about Sutton. Along her quotes were along the lines of
You
she put
outsource your financial well-being to a man. That's how she says it.
yes.
And no lies detected. She's right. That's what many women on that show do and many women around the world do. A lot of the time historically because they were forced, but it's just I don't know, it just comes across so judgmental and not helpful. It's helpful to say, Dorit, have you ever heard of forensic accounting? Here's my forensic accountant. Here's what happened when I went through my divorce. That's a helpful thing to say to someone who may or may not have outsourced her financial well being to a man. But also, the text messages and the financials leaked, and Dorit actually makes more money than him, at least at this point in time. So sorry, Amanda. She just because she's not waving it around like you kind of do, constantly reminding us that your fiance makes less than you doesn't mean that it's not true for her also. But it just was so I mean, I would never say that to someone. You outsourced your financial well-being to a man. Never, especially when the woman's raising the guy's kids. It's like, well, yeah, that's what she's doing. That's a job. And he's doing a job. That's kind of how it works sometimes when your kids are little, you know?
Mhm. Mhm. What else did you like about chapter 9 and Rich as Fuck?
Okay, so chapter 9 was actual business concepts where we actually learned some more concrete. It was not as concrete as a sidewalk, but it was maybe, when they're mixing the concrete so that it doesn't harden, it was about that level of concrete. So, details about how to start a business. So, she had these series of lies about businesses, and they started out pretty generic. Lie number 1 is the market is saturated. You should do what you love or teach doing what you love. Lie number 2, your following isn't big enough. Great for me to hear. Loved that. Thank you, Amanda. We're working on it. Lie number 3, I waited too long and wasted time. I loved hearing that too. That was really, really helpful for me. Lie number 4, I don't know where to start. I don't have a niche. Lie number 5, you have to spend a certain amount of money to earn that money back. And I was like, okay, scam. What? So apparently, this is something in the life coaching community that is pushed, this concept of how can you expect to make 50 grand off life coaching if you haven't invested 50 grand into life coaches, which is just to Amanda's credit, she was debunking that. She was saying this is a lie that's being pushed and it's not accurate. That is crazy.
I really appreciated her putting life coaches on blast. She said that it is very common for life coaches to be broke.
Yeah, and she said she knows that because they enroll in her courses. And I was like,
Such
"Okay, this is another difference between life coaches and therapists. There's no HIPAA for life coaches. She's just putting these people on blast. Like you said, she's like, "Yeah, these people are broke." I don't know. I kinda love a person who's gonna get a little low down and dirty like that about their industry. Like, for instance, whenever you get a haircut and the hairdresser is like, "The last person who did your hair did a bad job." I love that because 'cause I'm like, "Okay, I actually trust you so much more now," you know?
mhm, mhm, yes, yes,
She keeps going with these lies, and one of the lies is the coaching bubble will burst, and it's like, "Wait, what? What? What does that have to do with my life?" And this is sort of the tell that what she's kinda selling is, "Here's how to be a life coach just like me." So, that was where I kinda got got it, where I said, "Okay, now I see what she's really selling is not just the fix your mindset around money," which I love. I think that's awesome. I really, really do. And I found this book really helpful around that stuff. But she is selling the courses to become the person who sells the courses. And that's, I think, where we get into sort of scammy territory. I'm
for
not saying
sure,
100%, but it feels scammy to me.
for sure, for sure.
And I liked how she said a victim story is not required to create a success story. And I was like, can you tell that to everyone on Bravo so that we can stop going around the table and saying the worst thing that ever happened to us on camera? Because it is so boring and I'm not interested. Sorry. I want to see you having fun.
Yes, I know you really didn't like that Ladies of London scene.
Yeah, and they do it on like every show now. They're
Yeah,
always doing this victim narrative for everybody. It's like a huge reality TV trope of the last 10 years and I just don't know who likes it.
I hate when they do games at the table because that's what it always devolves into.
Yeah, exactly. It devolves into crying because the best was on Rhode Island when Ashley Yaconetti started crying because nothing bad has ever happened to her and she's worried that one day it will.
That was a toughie toenail.
That was the snake eating its own tail of that trope. They have to never do it again. She won. She won. That was it. That was the best one, and they can't do it ever again.
Mhm. At the very beginning of Rich as Fuck, I was pleasantly surprised about how Amanda spoke about her Christianity. I went into it expecting it to be super evangelical, but I enjoyed how she spoke about God at the beginning. She said, throughout this book, feel free to substitute any term that works for you for the word God. Some people prefer source, light, love, infinite, intelligent, cosmic forces, and so on. No, she didn't say Allah, but I was pleasantly surprised that she wasn't positing the only God is God, capital God. Now, as the book went on, it felt to me she got a little more born again with the amount of Bible quotes.
I also liked how she talked about God, but the fact that she studied ministry and she says that she got out of a cult, which sounded like it was like an evangelical church, and all the ladies on Beverly Hills sort of whiffed that. They were trying to catch her in a lie or something, but as an audience member, I was like, yeah, those can be pretty culty.
Yes,
She's
for sure.
I
I was with her on that.
Yeah, exactly. She was dramatizing it a little bit, but, who doesn't? Who wouldn't tell that story? I left a cult in the middle of the night. She did, just because it wasn't Charles Manson, it doesn't mean that it was, any less well, it's probably less controlling than Charles Manson, but it's still a cult. But yeah, the way she talks about God, again, it reminded me a lot of AA language, which was really interesting to me because AA something where they say, "This will only work if you work it," and that's something that she kinda says as well, and that's something that all of these course, life coach, The Secret, positive affirmation, law of attraction people, they kind of say that a lot also, that you have to, like, work really hard to get this to work for you, and if it doesn't work, the implication is that it's your fault. And I also liked in chapter 2, this was the God chapter, was chapter 2. She says the chapter is called Stop Waiting on God or a Man or Your Next Client. And it was really interesting that all 3 of those are in one category. Again, I think a really interesting glimpse into her psychology. Amanda Frances with men is a really fascinating thing that I would love to hear more about. I wish she wrote a manifestation dating book because there's something going on there, you know? Stop waiting on God or a man or your next client. That is I would never it would never occur to me to put those 3 together.
Hmm. Yeah. I I think the next client and a man makes sense in terms of they are pathways to money for some. I don't understand the connection between God and making you money.
Yeah, and so the new book that's coming out that she's writing is called Godly as Fuck, and from my research online, people are pissed off about this because they think it's kind of blasphemous and they think that she's comparing herself to God, which, I mean, she says God lives in all of us. So, I don't know, a lot of people say that.
Yeah, that's not problematic to me.
Yeah, it's interesting to see her pivoting to the religion thing though, because she did study ministry. And to see her take this life coaching, positive affirmation, law of attraction blueprint and see what she's going to do with that in the world of religion and God is something that I have not seen before in mainstream culture. And I will definitely be watching because it just seems kookadoodle doo. It's something that I don't think happens in New Jersey where I'm from.
Us Catholics, this is very foreign.
Yeah. What is gonna be in the book, Godly as Fuck? I mean, we're gonna read it 100%, right?
I'll tell you. Yes, we will. It'll be a ton of explicating scripture and explaining, well, this actually means that Jesus's love is money for you. It's going to be a lot of Bible quotes taken out of context, I think.
Yeah, and I think it's gonna be a lot of convenient theory stuff where it's like, you actually don't have to do such and such thing that everybody is doing because this is the Bible quote that says you don't have to. Do you know what I mean? It's gonna be a lot of girl boss sort of yeah, it's gonna be a lot of girl boss convenient theorying, I think. And by the way, I hate that girl boss has become a bad word because nobody gets mad at boy bosses, and I don't know why it has become a bad word, but you know what I mean when I say it, right? In the Amanda Francis context, girl bosses, money queen, welcome mat that cost $19. Do you know what I mean? Instead of actually having like an Hermes welcome mat
Yeah.
where you're gesturing toward the shape of being a corporate lady, but you're not really doing the typical corporate things. Not to say that the typical corporate things are so amazing, but that's just what I think when I am going to use girl boss as a pejorative. That's what I mean. It's sort of someone who's like cosplaying a businesswoman. But hey, she has a house in Beverly Hills and a house in Orange County. So who's cosplaying?
I can't believe we haven't said it before, but who are we to poo-poo any of Amanda's methods for getting rich?
Right. She's doing better than I am. 100%. Why would you have a house in Beverly Hills and a house in Orange County? Can someone who knows LA better than me explain that to me?
I missed that. I understood that she had investment properties in Oklahoma.
The book, she didn't have these two properties yet. She's in a different property in the book. She keeps saying the border of WeHo and Beverly Hills. So it's like, okay, so it's WeHo because if it was Beverly Hills, you would just say it was Beverly Hills. But she has since vacated that property. Now she lives in Bel Air in Kyle's old house. And she purchased it in 2021 for $6.1 million. And then she's got a home in Orange County as well. She lives in Bel Air. That's her primary residence. And then she has a second home in Newport Beach. So, how far apart are Bel Air and Newport Beach?
I assume the Newport Beach property is investment.
They like summer there and go there on the weekends. It's an hour and 17 minutes apart, and this is with no traffic. So it's probably usually more than that. It's interesting because why wouldn't you just live in Newport Beach? First of all, her business doesn't really need to be in LA. She's not really in film or TV. I just am interested to know this. I don't think there's anything sinister about it. I'm just confused because to me, it's like, why do you have two houses that are an hour apart?
Yeah, it's not quite far enough. It doesn't yeah, it is unusual to have 2 houses an hour apart.
Yeah, why don't you just live in Venice or something? Venice is so cool and it's also on the beach, but I don't
Mhm.
know. That's something I want to know. Amanda, I hope you're not listening again, but if you are, please tell us because we are fascinated to know why you have these two houses. Maybe it's just because she has enough money to have them. That's probably it.
Yeah, could be as simple as that. I have a general thing to talk about. So in Rich as Fuck, there is a little bit of the lady doth protest too much in terms of her success because every other paragraph has a stat about her business, about the monthly revenue, about the annual revenue. It's really in your face. And I know that she's using the book to sell her courses, but it really smacks of, huh, you're really telling and not showing how successful your business is. Do you think that Amanda Francis one day, or her coaching course business, will collapse as many of these life coach sketchily selling course business models do? Or do you think because she's the money queen, she has it all figured out?
Do they collapse?
Yeah, as an actor, I am surrounded by so many of these career life coach, buy my course, buy the investment to be successful personalities, and they definitely collapse.
They just kind of drop off the face of the earth one day.
Yeah, or you just know that they're broke. I mean, the difference between these Z-list acting career coaches that I see on social media versus Amanda Francis is I do believe she currently has money, and these Z-list people I'm seeing never had. But she just really reminds me of every other life coach. And yeah, in my experience, these life career coach vague businesses do not sustain.
Yeah, I have no idea. I mean, she's got a lot of property now, so even if it didn't work out, she would be able to seemingly it seems like live off of the property because obviously like you said she doesn't need to have the houses that are an hour apart in Bel Air and Newport Beach, so you just get rid of one of them and if it's worth 6 million bucks, streamline your lifestyle, that's you for like 10 years or more. And her husband has a job, so I think she's got longevity. I don't have any reason to believe that it's gonna come crashing down, especially now that she's pivoting to the God stuff, because that's gonna bring in a whole new element of person. And that's an area that I know even less about than money. The whole evangelical influencer space. That's wild to me and fascinating. But I think, you mentioned the acting coaches. I actually saw someone on TikTok, and I'm not ashamed to say I watched her free video, who instead of coaching for acting, instead of being a life coach, she calls herself a fame coach. And she says that she will teach you to let go of all of your misgivings around fame. And it was exactly this. She read the exact top 10 lists of books that I mentioned before, the best selling self help books of all time. And she molded it seemingly into this approach to fame instead of what Amanda did, the approach to money. And I just thought that was really interesting. And she's gonna hook some big fish, I would say, because I've never seen someone do that before. I've never seen someone do anything like that on manifesting fame, you know?
Aim coach, wow. I'm gonna check her out, I'll be honest.
Yeah, I was interested because I was like, "How can you actually be selling this? This is kind of fascinating." And I did not luckily spend any money on it. Okay, Jen, Amanda Francis, Rich as Fuck, what is your review of this book?
A practical guide to manifestation.
Practical and manifestation are oxymorons.
A practical guide to manifestation and a sleazy advertisement for a sketchy online course business.
Okay, so the courses to you are sleazier and sketchier than the manifestation. I just learned something about you. That's really interesting.
The prompts, the manifestation prompts, I think are generally helpful for career goals, for goal setting, for life goal setting. That when I say manifestation, that's what I'm talking about. In terms of just manifest that money's coming and it'll come to you, I don't buy that. But I cannot lie that when she laid out some of the homework and the prompts, I said, "Oh yeah, these are something that would make sense to me and the average person."
I loved the journal prompts. I really did. I will do all of them for sure. And I don't want to say I don't believe in manifestation because then people who do believe in manifestation will tell me the reason I can't manifest is because I don't believe it. So I'm not going to give them that. But what I am going to say is I think changing your attitude around money can set you free in a lot of ways. I don't think it's going to necessarily help you make more money, but I think it's going to help you in every other way because money anxiety is all consuming. And I think anything that promises to lessen that, which this book does, and I think it succeeds, for me it kind of does, is good. And I agree that the whole course thing is really what gives me pause more than anything. And the whole debt thing, the whole take on debt and use debt strategically is red flag city. So it's weird because you take such good stuff out of this book. There really is some good stuff in there. And then there's just these glaring red flags that are sinister.
Totally. Very sinister.
Well, why don't we Jen, what book do you think we should read next?
I would love to read Portia's book because I am catching up on Atlanta, and Portia's one of the best we have. And I wouldn't call Dorit and Amanda Francis among the best we have, but I did love love reading their books, but I would love to read Portia Williams's book. And Teresa just announced she has a new book coming out. Really excited for that. What about you, Malls?
I already read the first half of Teresa's prison memoir, so that has my vote because I don't feel like starting something new. And it's fresh in the dome right now. So maybe we could do that. And I'm going to
Yes,
be in New Jersey for the next 3 weeks. So actually, yeah. Can we do Teresa turning the tables and then we'll do Portia?
great.
All right, I think this is perfection. Everybody, follow us both on Instagram and TikTok at Molly Mulshine, at Hey Jen Keefe. Leave us a nice rating and review on Apple Podcasts. It will really, really help us. We have some good momentum going and we love to just snowball that. So leave us a good rating and review. Leave a nice comment on Spotify. You can comment on individual episodes, which is really fun, and we can read them.
And
Obviously.
bad comments help too. You know, if you want to talk about how ugly I am, please comment on it.
No, I don't think they help.
They don't? Okay. Never
Amanda
mind.
had actually, I loved this. She had in her chapter 9, the only chapter that had semi-concrete business advice, she had this passage about kind of stoking negativity, which I'm sure if she listens to this podcast, she would argue that we are. But she said, you need to understand it is safe to be loved. It is safe to be loved online. It is safe to be loved by massive amounts of people. It is safe and possible to have a mostly conflict free online experience as someone with a lot of eyes on them. This was what speaks to me. Some online entrepreneurs unintentionally create a dynamic where conflict, controversy, and combativeness are used to create engagement and that they get an ego boost from fans defending them. But she's saying you don't have to do that to be loved online. So I think,
Dang.
yeah, don't leave us mean comments is what basically what I'm saying.
I was super wrong. Delete them.
Yeah, good ones only. And
All right, signing off. Housewives Book Club.